First thing we've spoken about is the distinction between a purposeful God and a willful God. That the purpose is more essential than will. So God will bend his will to his purpose. And there are a number of examples for that. Tzimtzum is the first. That he has to contract himself, that goes against the will. That he has to hide himself, which is a second step. Also, not desirable. That he has to create evil. That he sends the godly soul down from heaven into a body, into earth. Doesn't like that. Pains him. And that explains, the Gemara says, there are three things that God regrets creating every day. One of them is the evil inclination. So does he really regret, or is that just an expression? Yeah, he really regrets. He doesn't like it. Well, if he doesn't like it, why do you do it? Because sometimes there's a higher purpose, and you sacrifice for that purpose. Which explains another thing. God expects us to sacrifice. Now, it's kind of justified. He's sacrificing, why can't we?
If it pains God, why does he not change his will to fit that purpose more?
He doesn't want what he doesn't want to become permanent.
So it's
like we don't sanctify suffering. We put up with it, but we expect it to be over soon. All suffering must end. We're not accepting it as a fact, only as a temporary means to an end. And he does too. So to say, why doesn't he just make peace with the fact that there are things he doesn't like? No. I hope he never makes peace with it, because then it'll become eternal. That's why eternal damnation is such an ungodly concept, because it means that evil goes on forever. That's not an acceptable idea. It's just a means to an end. And when you reach the end, it's over. It served its purpose. In the same way that when we ask why is there evil in the world, and why was there a Holocaust, and why do babies suffer, we don't really want an answer. We don't want to make it okay. A good answer would make it okay. But we don't want to make it okay. Don't dare make it okay. You become a monster. So when we ask why is there suffering, we don't want an answer. It's just a complaint we're lodging. That's why some rabbis try to give an answer and everybody hates them. Were you trying to give an answer? Not godly.
Why Jews in particular?
Good question. I don't know.
Good answer.
But what are we going to do?
Yeah.
You're given a role, you're given a mission, you're given a special soul. You got to do it. Actually, we don't want to press that too much. Like, why did you choose us? Let it be. We don't have to change his mind. So we're not going to question that too much, unless you don't want to be chosen. Actually, the serious answer is, there are certain things that are essential. Essential means for no purpose and for no reason. Because if there's a reason, if there's a purpose, then that's what makes it necessary. So it's not essential. You know what I mean? If you need a reason for something, then obviously it's not essential.
It's like the fundamental axioms of the system. They need
like
justification.
Like why
it's built on top of them.
Right. Like, why does God exist? No, there's no why. Created things have a why. Why did you create it? But that which is has no why. In a sense, the why is more important than the fact. So why is there a world? Because it was created. Well, that creative force is more real than the creation. So if you say, why is there a God? You're saying there's something more real than God that caused God. Well, then it's God. You're just going to keep. So that which is essential is what it is without a reason. So when we say God chose us, it doesn't mean that there was some kind of a contest and we won. God chose us means there was no choice. So the expression is, we are chosen, not God chose. So there's something essential between Jews and God.
Can you just more flesh out the idea of the chosenness? That choosing means that there was no choice.
There's choice and there's free choice. Usually we speak about free choice because choice is common. Animals have choices. You want to eat this grass or that grass. You want to sit, lay down or stand up. Choices. What's unique about free choice is that the choice begins in me, not in the thing I'm choosing. It's not an acquired choice. So it's really me doing the choosing. So for example, you have two fruits on the table, two apples on the table. You only want to eat one. Which one are you going to choose? Do you have free choice? You're free to choose? Not really. Because if one apple looks a little tastier than the other, well, then there's your choice. It's been made for you. It'd be ridiculous to take the apple that looks worse. Even if they both look alike, but one of them is a little closer to your hand. That's it. Your choice has been made. You're going to reach for the closer one.
That would be ridiculous, but is it not true that we still could take the apple that looks worse?
If we had a reason.
Right.
But something would have to tilt our interest in one direction.
That reason could merely be the ridiculousness
Yeah.
of the act.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm oppositional and contrary.
Exactly.
I like asymmetrical. But fine, then that makes the choice for me. I'm not going to take the apple you expect because I don't want to be predictable. Okay, so there's my reason. So the choice was made for me.
So in what cases do you think that there is free choice?
Now, imagine that there are two options and there is nothing, no difference whatsoever. Which one will I choose? I say, well, then you'll make a free choice. Actually, I won't be able to make a choice. I'll be stuck.
Or you'll make an arbitrary choice.
Flip a coin.
Right.
Yeah, but I can't choose anymore. The coin is going to choose because I can't. I actually become catatonic.
But by being catatonic, is that not a choice itself?
No. I'm
Yes,
crippled.
because you could just as easily choose one of them in some arbitrary fashion, as opposed to staying catatonic, right?
Right. You can flip a coin or have somebody else choose for me. But imagine, I think that this is what catatonic means. You're in a state of mind where nothing makes any difference. If you can't distinguish, if all things look alike, you're catatonic.
But you still have the option to remain in the catatonic state or to choose one of the options. Is that not the case? Do you still have the ability to leave the catatonic state whenever you wish? It is impossible for you to leave that catatonic state? Well, I guess that this discussion needs to be more practical then. What is the scenario in which the choices would be so equal that there is no way?
No, it's theoretical.
It's completely theoretical.
Unless you have this disease called catatonia, right?
Right.
Where everything is the same, which is kind of rare.
I don't know if catatonia implies that everything's the same to you. Maybe it has something to do with like neurological dysfunction.
Maybe. But the point is that when we say free choice, We're not talking about a human function, because humanly, if I'm really free and nothing influences my choice, I can't make one. So you want to tell practical? If I have two apples on the table and they're exactly alike in every way, you know what I'm going to do? Eat an orange.
Well, what I'm saying,
Because I can't handle this.
my objection to this is that there can be forced choice paradigms in which you have to choose one, even if you can come up with no difference between the choices in terms of value.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is that every choice, every scenario that you pose to me could be considered a forced choice paradigm, because the catatonic state can be considered one of the choices. Instead of just having the two apples, you now have three choices. You have the choice to pick apple A, apple B, or remain in the catatonic state. And so it's always a forced choice paradigm, even if you have no discernible reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but the bottom line is, it's forced. It's not a free choice. Something has to make the choice for you. Something's got to tilt the scale one way or the other,
Right.
or one of the three ways. So what exactly is free choice? Free choice means I have a preference that comes from me, not from the choices. So it's almost like, it's not about apples. It's just me. I'm into that apple. Why? What about that apple? No, it's not about the apple. It's me. In many cases, when what they call true love is a free choice, meaning there's something about me that wants you. It's not you that's making me want you. Whereas if you appeal to me, if you seduce me, then it's not really my choice.
Well, it's still.
You influenced me.
Is it still not an aspect of you, a desire that perhaps arises, and that desire is what causes you, not yourself?
Yes. In most cases, there's a mix, right? But pure freedom of choice, without any mixture of influence, is very rare.
Well, it's
God-
questionable, are there any scenarios in which there's pure freedom of choice?
There is when it comes to moral option. You can do the right thing even though you have no motivation for it. Simply from an inherent goodness.
I think it depends on how you're defining motivation, though, because I would call the unconscious force that causes you to choose, I would call that a motivation. The years and years of your childhood in which
Maybe.
moral concepts have been ingrained into you, I
Right.
would call those motivatory forces.
Yes.
Motivational forces.
Yes, but is it possible for a person who all his life was educated and raised to be immoral, and then when it comes to a decision, he chooses to be moral?
I would say yes, but I would say it's also possible to make any alternative choice in any choice scenario. Like in the apple scenario, as we were saying, it's possible to make the choice of the bad apple.
For a reason.
Yes, and in this case, the immoral person will also have a reason.
Oh, so I'm saying it is possible to make a moral choice against all reason. You were raised the opposite way. Nothing influences you. In other words, there is a choice that comes from me, and there's a choice that is imposed on me from circumstances, education, philosophy, whatever. Now, that free choice, very hard to find an example for it, because there's always layers of reasons, conscious, subconscious, whatever, right? But with God, when we say He chose, it's almost like He chose it before it even existed. So it could not have any influence on Him. And that's the real meaning of in the beginning God created. In the beginning meaning, before there was anything to want, He already wants it. Because that's Him. So God's purpose doesn't come from anywhere, doesn't have any rationalization. It isn't necessary by itself. It's just him. So on the one hand, it seems like a total whim. On the other hand, yes, it's his whim. It's essential. It's him. The important thing is, when people talk about God's freedom to do whatever he wants, we get a little, could he have decided not to create the world? Could he have decided not to choose the Jews? Could he have decided not to choose the mitzvah? Answer is no. So in this case, choice doesn't mean option. Choice means no option. This is just me. And he can't be any other way.
Well, I think that's a radical redefinition of choice. I don't know why you're using the word choice in this context.
Because it sounds almost like free choice means I am free from making a choice. I've already decided.
You're free from making a choice that...
So where
I
others...
don't think that you have to call it free choice then, because free choice gives a completely different impression.
I know. But you human beings, when they're really free, can't make a choice because they're catatonic. Whereas with God, there is a free choice. He's not catatonic. When everything is equal, he has a preference.
That human beings will make a choice by remaining catatonic. You're just not considering the state of catatonia to be a choice.
Right.
But in my expanded paradigm, it is also a choice. So there's no...
But even that will be motivated by something.
Yes, it's always motivated. I agree with that.
Right.
That's a different question, though.
So again, if nothing motivates you, not even to be catatonic, then you cannot make a choice.
Then what? Well, that's impossible, though, because it's a forced choice paradigm.
Okay, so we're talking in principle and concept, not in actuality.
Well, you're giving me a scenario that is a paradox, because as long as time progresses, there is going to be something that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call any one of those possibilities remaining in a catatonic state or choosing one of the two apples, going back to our original case. I would call that a choice. So you're
well, you can call it
a scenario in which time doesn't progress.
Right. So in this world where time does have an effect, where everything has an effect, we don't get to make a free choice.
Okay.
We get to make influence choices. So, okay, so we're all capable of making a choice. But when we talk free choice, this is divine. So again, the importance of it is, because when you say choice, it makes it sound like he could change his mind. And that can't be.
Well, free choice makes it sound even more like...
I know.
But he's doing
I know.
First blush.
Yes.
Right.
What?
That's why we need to have this conversation.
That's exactly, he's radically redefining it. That's precisely the point.
So the Hebrew...
Why
The
do you have to
semantics?
yeah,
Because what
it just seems to be like to change the way that people think about these words.
Because that's not what's wrong. Right? The idea is the emphasis on true free choice is because the common misconception is that there is a concept of free choice, and that is when we mistakenly think when there's something internal inside of us which sort of motivates us to make a decision, we call that free choice. So I think his radical redefinition is basically saying, well, no, that might be choice. That's not considered free choice. You're actually compelled by something external.
The Torah...
True freedom. I think
Right.
the emphasis on freedom here.
Well,
The Torah uses the expression bechira chafshis, and we translate it as free choice.
okay.
So I'm just explaining that it's not what it sounds like.
Oh, I see. So I guess that was a linguistic.
Yes. Yeah. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there is a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it.